Well, not only has it not been a good week for Joe Biden, it hasn't been a great week for Dr. Anthony Fauci Stein. In fact, he's being ganged up on now by Bill Gates, Rand Paul, and a moron. Bill Gates, long suspected of being the partner in crime with Dr. Anthony Fauci, who for more than a decade has been traveling the world, giving lectures on the need for mass worldwide global vaccination. Now again, it's not because Bill Gates is some type of brilliant scientist. In fact, he's a college dropout. In fact, he can't design his own computer system not to get a virus. Oh, wait a minute. Or is it that Microsoft gives itself viruses so that you have to buy new software, new operating systems? Is that part of the business model? In other words, the idea that there's no money in the cure, the money is in the treatment. Is that what we're facing right now from Big Pharma? That said, Bill Gates came out this week and said some things that I'm sure didn't sit well with one Dr. Anthony Fauci. Bill Gates said the vaccines we have prevent disease and death, severe disease, because it doesn't stop the coronavirus. It doesn't prevent you from getting it. But the claim is it will stop it from you getting a very serious case of coronavirus. It'll protect you from death. It's amazing, though, they never actually provide any real data that supports only the unvaxxed die from COVID. Wouldn't you like to see stats on how they determine that? But Bill Gates went on to say they allow infections and the duration appears to be limited. We need vaccines that prevent reinfection and have many years of duration. Bum, ba-dum, bum. That is a slam on Fauci. And I have told you before, and I have to be careful how I word this here so I don't get in trouble, so I'll word it this way. There are those who say that the pandemic happened 5 years before they wanted it to. That they wanted a vaccine that was going to work perfectly, do its job, because that would be an easy sell for the American people. There would have been no coercion, there would have been no fighting, no fussing. Once people saw, wow, it works perfectly, people would have just lined up and done it. The other issue was they were not ready, not going to be ready until about 2025 with being able to put within the vaccine digital capability, digital technology. That all they would have to do is, like they scan you for your temperature, scan you to check your vaccination status, and everything from your bank account to your whole life, all digitally and electronically connected, and with a scan, they would know. Bum, ba-dum, bum. That was the plan. That was the global plan, according to those who have been talking about it in certain places. And the big oops was the fact that this virus got out and got away from them 5 years too soon. And that was what Dr. Fauci Stein was actually so worried about. And Bill Gates, I think, is to the place now where he understands that Fauci's losing credibility. He's got worse poll numbers now than Joe Biden. Joe Biden's approval rating is at 33%. I guarantee you Anthony Fauci is down somewhere in the 20s. He is no longer seen as the great saint and savior of us all. And Bill Gates, aside from a guy who's made his millions out of stealing other people's technology and slapping his own name on it, Bill Gates does have behind that nerdy appearance, a killer instinct. And he knows a winner and he knows a dog, and he knows that right now Fauci's no longer a winner. So he's saying these things, kind of rolling it out there that, okay, Fauci, we need to back off all of what we're doing now and just pause, let people go back to normal, let people forget about some of this stuff. Let's unleash something else at another time when we can do this right. In other words, give them a vax that actually works, and my digital tracing will all be ready to roll all at the same time, and boom, baby, we're done. But of course, Anthony Fauci doesn't want to play that way. Anthony Fauci is a narcissist, and the people that launched this narcissist are now finding out that he is petty, he is vindictive, and he will even come at them. And so now it's going to be interesting to watch as Joe Biden knows that his poll numbers are so bad, the only way he can turn anything around is he's got to have a big win. And the biggest win he could have is just to simply say, you know what? We have been wrong about some things regarding this virus, and enough is enough is enough. I am setting you free, and go back to normal. Fauci would be the natural fall guy because Fauci has pimped himself out there, and I think this is another step where Bill Gates, and saying what he's saying, is a wink to the powers that be, saying, I'm good if you want to make Fauci the fall guy, because after all, he flubbed it up on AIDS, he's flubbed it up on this, and we don't have what we really need to really draw the masses to us right now. So you know what? Let Fauci be the fall guy.
So, I mean, I think I know your answer to this, but should Fauci just step down? I mean, it doesn't seem to me that this is a guy who should be running the NIH anymore. I mean, enough's enough already.
I mean, if we don't have room for him in prison, I mean, stepping down would probably be okay. But
Rand Paul appearing with David Rubin, no longer just saying he wants Fauci to resign, he wants Fauci in jail. He and Fauci got into it again this week, and Rand Paul really took the gloves off and said, you are responsible for the deaths of millions of people. You try to make it out that the people that are unvaccinated, who won't wear a mask, won't follow your mandated protocols are the real killers. But in fact, Dr. Fauci, it is you. You have been in this up to your eyeballs with gain of function. It has gotten away from you, and tens of millions of people and deaths and mental fatigue around the planet are your fault. I mean, it was epic between these two.
You keep coming back to personal attacks on me that have absolutely no relevance to reality.
Do you think anybody has had more influence over our response to this than you have? Do you think it's a great success? Do you think it's a great success what's happened so far? Do you think the lockdowns were good for our kids? Do you think we slowed down the death rate? More people have died now under President Biden than did under President Trump. You are the one responsible. You are the architect. You are the lead architect for the response from the government. And now 800,000 people have died.
Right.
So you think it's a winning success, what you've advocated for government?
Senator, first of all, if you look at everything that I said, you accuse me of in a monolithic way telling people what they need to do. Everything that I've said has been in support of the CDC guidelines. Wear a mask, get boosted.
And you've advocated to make it coercive and done through force. Everything that I've said. You've advocated it to be done by mandate.
Right.
You've advocated that your infallible opinion be dictated by law.
Right.
I've always been pro-vaccine. I'm just simply against authoritarianism and against mandates. Right. The anger that's developed with you, Dr. Fauci, is that you don't want to give us advice. You want to tell us what to do. You think you are the science, and that anybody responds to you, how dare you? How dare you criticize science? As if you somehow are science. That kind of arrogance, that hubris is really, that's where the anger's coming towards you. If you were one doctor among hundreds of doctors in the government who gave advice, I don't think anybody, people might object to your advice, but there wouldn't be such a degree of anger. But you are so certain that you're right that you're not willing to hear anyone else. 3 epidemiologists, of which you are not even an epidemiologist, but 3 epidemiologists prominent in their field, Oxford, Stanford, and Harvard. You maligned them. You spoke openly with Dr. Collins, and you did not disagree that let's paint them as fringe. You went after them and said, we will do a public takedown, not in Science or Nature or Lancet, in Wired, in The Nation, a left-wing publication. You've engaged in base politics. You wonder why there's so much anger? You're not an objective scientist. You've lost that long ago. And so many of the things that people want, it's like they want to know why you're forcing their children to be vaccinated when 95% of people at risk have been vaccinated. Over 95% of people over 65. It's a huge voluntary success. And yet you won't rest until you force every child to get this. So, yes, there's a great deal of dissatisfaction with you, and many people want you to go, but nobody wishes you violence.
David Rubin went on to talk with Rand Paul about it. Does seem that the Fauci brand name does seem to be impaired right now, that people are really beginning to say, you know what, 2 years in, and now they're telling us we've been wearing the wrong masks, and first it was don't mask, then mask, and wear this mask, and a cloth mask is fine, and now we're told it's this, and we've been vaccinated and boosted, and we're still getting it, and we're told even if you're vaccinated and boosted, you still got to be tested at certain jobs every week, and you still got to mask up when you're inside, according to some municipalities. What has been the point of all this? That, in other words, that Fauci's done. What's the path forward? And Rand Paul made the case that I have been making, that there have been more deaths, so-called, under Joe Biden than under Donald Trump. So either Biden has to own that, like he tried to inflict it off on Donald Trump when he said to him, any president with this many deaths on his watch is not fit to be president. The death rate at that time was like 200,000. Well, we're now over 800,000, which means 600,000 deaths under Joe Biden. So either he has to resign because these happened on his watch, or we start getting a redefinition. And I told you a couple of weeks ago when Fauci first came out and said, when you're counting all these kids in the hospital as COVID, you got to understand that, well, no, not exactly. I said that was the beginning of the rollback. That eventually they would get around to saying even adults, when they're in the hospital, they get tested for COVID. They might be there for a gallbladder, a heart attack, cancer, whatever. But if they've got a positive test for corona, they get reported as corona, and that's all tied to money. How much money the hospitals get re-compensated. And I've said eventually what they're going to have to do to give Joe Biden a win here is they're going to have to come out and admit the death counts have been wrong. They're already starting to do that. They're already starting to break out now that, well, 75% of all the new deaths of the people had 3 to 4 other serious medical issues along with COVID. And that's been since day one. And Rand Paul is now saying they're going to recalibrate and they're going to reconfigure the death count.
You may have seen this in the last year or two, that some people suspected that the death count was inflated, that many people were dying with COVID and not from COVID. Wow, the Biden administration has woken up to this fact, and we're getting regular pronouncements from them day to day. They said yesterday 75% of the people dying have 4 comorbidities, meaning they're pretty sick people, and that many of them are dying with COVID as an incidental finding. All right, he came in, he lost his arm, his leg, and his ear was cut off from an automobile accident, and he also tested positive from COVID. But he died from internal bleeding, but he also had COVID. But see, when they're waking up to it, and when you have CNN doctors saying cloth masks are nothing more than facial decoration, guess what? Maybe, yeah, they are, I think, understanding that there are more deaths under Biden than there were under Trump, that they got some explaining to do, and their best way is to explain this as something we're going to have to live with.
And Rand Paul is not the only senator on Capitol Hill taking on Dr. Fauci. In fact, one senator wants to know, where's the money?
As the highest paid employee in the entire federal government, yes or no, would you be willing to submit to Congress and the public a financial disclosure that includes your past and current investments? After all, your colleague, Dr. Walensky, and every member of Congress submits a financial disclosure that includes their investments. Where would we find it?
All you have to do is ask for it. You're so misinformed. It's extraordinary.
Why am I misinformed? This is a huge issue. Wouldn't you agree with me that you see things before members of Congress would see them, so that there's an air of appearance that maybe some shenanigans are going on? I don't think that's. I assume that's Senator, not the case.
What are you talking about?
It's not the case.
My financial disclosures are public knowledge, and have been so. You are getting amazingly wrong information.
Senator Roger Marshall, Republican from Kansas, basically grilling Dr. Fauci on, where do you make your money? You're the highest paid bureaucrat, but yet we want to know, what do you invest money in? In other words, he was going to, how much are you in the pocket of Big Pharma? I have been asking that question for a year. It was awesome to hear a senator ask him that, and Fauci, with that arrogant, condescending, I have answered that question. My information's public. That's like when Hillary used to say, that's been debunked. That's been debunked. You can never tell us who debunked it. But it's, I've answered that question. Well, where are they? I've answered it by saying my financial disclosures are public. Just go find them. Well, the Wall Street Journal can't find them. The Hill can't find them. And on a hot mic moment during that exchange between Fauci and Senator Marshall, Fauci called the senator a moron. But apparently the moron is going to get the last laugh. Marshall is introducing a bill called Financial Accountability for Uniquely Compensated Individuals. Financial Accountability for Uniquely Compensated Individuals. F-A-U-C-I. The Fauci Act. I love it. And basically, it means that the Office of Government Ethics is going to have to provide a list of all confidential filers. In other words, those who file their financial status for the year under confidential terms. They want Fauci's name on that list, and that because he is a public servant, he needs to disclose where his money is and who he is actually invested with. You think maybe the big pharma that's cranking out the vaccine is putting money in Fauci's pocket? Well, Senator Marshall thinks so, and I think most other people do too. Inquiring minds want to know. And I'm not just talking about the National Enquirer. People want to know. Fauci, it's not been a good week for you. You're not getting the cover that you used to get. I even noticed in your exchange with Rand Paul in the Senate, you kept looking around waiting for some Democratic senator to bail you out, and they didn't. The signal has been given behind closed doors. The more that the Biden administration unravels, they need some good news, and they need to be able to take a win on COVID and say, it's here, it's now less deadly, it's basically now like a cold, it's an endemic, you can live with it, go live your life, we're setting you free. And by the way, all of this madness that you have been put through, it's Fauci's fault. Get ready, here it comes. Hey, make sure you're a subscriber to the channel, smack the bell, click the word all to get notification of my next rant, and don't forget to follow me over on Rumble.